Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another Brony Debates Live. I hope you're all doing well and are setting yourselves up for a lovely, throwing whatever it is to the ground that somebody's doing over there on my stream. I hope you all had a lovely Thanksgiving as well for those of you who celebrate. I see Pika Damos in the chat already saying hello. Hello to you, too. What is going on over there? Okay, so... what is today's topic? When is it not Brony? So there's a little bit of a story behind this title here. I put out my feelers yesterday because I'm a procrastinator of what sort of topic we should talk about on tonight's stream. And Malcontent, who's been on the show a couple of times, said this. He said... I lost my place. I had it. There we go. He said, how far can you go from a source material before it's no longer part of the fandom? So I shortened that to when is it not Brony? Now this concept can apply to not just Brony, but any fandom or in any sort of artistic fan-made medium within a fandom. So basically, you've got your source material and you say you're making fan art for it, but the fan art is just so divulgent from the source material. We're asking the question tonight: does it count when you do that? Tonight, for that, the people that were interested in joining this stream was Mr. Concert Cruizer. How are you doing tonight? Somebody punch Cruiser for me.
Oh, sorry. That was the tryptophan from the turkey.
All right.
My Drift user has been banned from the server.
How are you doing tonight, Cruiser?
Not too bad. After lots of time at work, I finally had a day off.
Nice. You work in healthcare, so if anything, you should be able to get Black Friday off because everybody's too busy out shopping to be in the hospital. At least that's what I'm going to take away from that. Is that about right?
That, or they'll find a way to get into the hospital because of Black Friday.
Oh, yeah. Well, from what I've observed, Black Friday has not been as bad the last couple of years. But moving on here, we've also got returning to the show tonight, Mr. Sasha Lace. How's it going tonight, sir?
It's going good. It's always fun to be around.
Yep, it's great to have you on once again. I'm sure, because you used to write fan fiction too. In fact, that's how you and I met. I'm sure you've got some pretty good, some valuable insight on this tonight. Joining us for the first time, we got two people joining us for the first time tonight. The first one is a longtime fan, recent supporter of the Patreon. We played Them's Fightin' Herds a few weeks ago. Mr. Trent, your own. How's it going tonight?
How are you tonight?
We're doing pretty good. You're suddenly very quiet. But I'll fix that later. Doing good. And also joining us tonight is a close personal friend of mine. You might have seen him in the chat, our resident troll, Mr. Pony Cordero. How's it going, sir?
That is the greatest title you could ever give me. I'm honored.
All right. Glad I could hit the nail on the head there. So, before we get much further, I got to read off a big long list of names. So I'm extremely grateful to all of my Patreon supporters who make my bills easier to pay, my content easier to produce when I have to, pay an assistant, especially those folks on the $10 and up tier. Here's this big long list. Princess Heather Blossom, Shady Oak Ministry, Sid McConroy, Autoknight, Emerald Spencer, Sodden, Girder, Senko, Jennan, Kellogg, Kyle Christensen, DJ Skywalker, Stephen A. Wilson, Wreck, Rein-Kun, Princess Sunshine Sparkle, Bootleg Bard, and the Equestrian City Heroverse series. If you would like to get on the show, I'd love to have you. We just need you on the Patreon for as little as $1 a month when you get into the Discord server where you can hang out with me, make topic suggestions, make game suggestions, and come on the show if you're at all interested in the topic. I also happen to see Malcontent, who suggested tonight's topic, in the room. How are you doing? I hope you enjoy tonight's stream. So, let's go down the line here and just give some opening thoughts. Cruizer, When
Yes.
is it not Brony?
For at least Brony specifically, my big thing is when it gets overtly violent.
Okay.
And I can hear music in the background.
All right. So, yeah, when it gets explicitly violent, then what happens?
Then, in my opinion, I personally think you're just either being a troll or there is something really mentally wrong with you.
Okay. So, we'll come back to that in a second. But yeah, what else you got for me?
That was my biggest thing. I know some people may have some thoughts when it comes to the, for lack of a better word, adult side of things, but I have thoughts on that as well.
Okay. So if I'm understanding you correctly, it's when the tone dissociates from the source material too much that it's no longer part of it. Is that
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
okay. Trent, what do you think? When is it no longer Brony?
I would say if there are way too many self-insert characters, or if they're not able to do any of the regular characters, like when we played them's fighting herds the other day.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only thing that seems to make sense to me, going off of what we've talked about already.
So what you're saying is that if it's inspired by the source material but not otherwise related to the source material, which fighting herds might be the best example of, at least in terms of the Brony fandom. Is that an accurate interpretation of what you just said?
Yep.
All right. Sounds good. So we'll come back to that in a little bit. Mr. Cordero, when is it not Brony?
Tone was a good way to put it. I would say when it's so far removed from the spirit of the source material that you can't recognize it anymore. But I'll also say that the spirit of the show, like the talent and the creative ability of the person making the fan content, affects whether or not they can capture the spirit of the show. So if you write like Cupcakes or something, but you write it really well, you can stay, within the spirit of the show. But if you're less talented at it, you might exit the spirit of the show because you suck. It depends if you suck or not, basically.
That's a good way to put it.
Talent factors in.
Yeah,
very much.
I would, something I would agree with that, because whenever I'm coaching people on writing, I tell them you can do whatever you want.
If you're good.
It's if you're good, Sasha, when is it not Brony?
Well, you see, when a man really loves a woman, okay, but joking aside, for me, I suppose it's just the balance of all things. You have to balance your skill as a writer versus your ability to also have legitimate expectations, like not just I'm gonna write this and it's just gonna get viewership. Because one of the things that I was taught by a friend who showed me the ropes was you can write whatever you want, but people are going to react however they want. So if you want the work you write to be well received, then you have to write with the consideration that you can do whatever you want, but it needs to come off interesting or people are going to be bored or think it's ridiculous. And if that's not the reaction you're looking for, then something has to give.
All right, so now let's fight about it. So the first thing that I wanted to address was Cruizer. What Cruizer said during his defining of the terms is you brought in the tone of it. If the tone divorces from the source material's tone too much, it can't really be considered part of whatever made that. So you were worried about in terms of explicit violence. That so you were worried about so why do we exclude violence from it again?
Okay, for me, now as Pony Cordero brought it up, who is also a friend of mine as well, when he brought up Cupcakes, for example. Now, I am, in fact, a horror fan. I love Friday the 13th. I love Nightmare on Elm Street. It. These are all cool. However, something like My Little Pony, I cannot see that existing in this particular world or this setting and tone, because even when you look at something like, as I was about to say, the adult side of things, if you look at this from a meta perspective, these ponies are having kids, okay? There is some action going down. And even if you don't look at it from a meta perspective, I think most people can acknowledge that a lot of these characters have qualities and characteristics and personalities that people would find attractive and would at least like to hope to one day meet that in a physical form that they could be in a relationship with. There are definitely times when it gets disgusting, don't get me wrong, but I can at least make an exception for something like that. But when it comes to straight up horror, like Cupcakes or The Rainbow Factory, I cannot picture this in this kind of setting or tone with MLP. And the amount of hoops someone had to go through to make Cupcakes, or at least to imagine Pinkie Pie, is this crazy? I think you're really stretching this here, dude. Like, the rubber band is already broken here.
Okay.
And I just cannot accept that as Brony.
Okay. So why not have count something like that as Brony when you're writing, for example, because that's what it seems like your examples are dealing with more in literature. So let's take.
You said fan art, and fan art can be, the written word.
Right. So let's take that. Let's take some of that to its logical conclusion, and my co-host here, feel free to butt in if you feel like either of us are getting something wrong, or you got something you want to say. Just let me know. But so there's the bad aspects of the horror, and this might even play into what Cordero was saying with the talent. So Cupcakes was very obviously a troll fic. I don't think the person who wrote that was really a Brony to begin with. But there was another story I read, and I wish right now I could remember the title of it. But it basically,
The Rainbow Factory.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't the Rainbow Factory, because this asked the question. This story asked the question of what would happen if Cadence experienced something like the nightmare, and got her elements, I guess would be the right word for it, twisted into something, and she took over the world. And what happened was she got banished to the moon, because she turned evil and made people, or made all the ponies cast aside their love through some sort of hypnosis or something like that, and they were all killing each other just as a result of it. So then that left Celestia, Luna, and Twilight to try to figure out how to reverse her spell, and what they ended up doing is removing all emotion from Equestria as a whole. And then, so the story picks up after Cadence returns from the moon, and it's been 1,000 years, and ponies are extinct except for the alicorns. So that how is that aspect? It's more of a psychological horror, but how is that not a Brony story?
The fact, at least, again, this is just my opinion, but when you start bringing in things like murder, when you start doing stuff like that, I'm out. I'm done. This is not My Little Pony anymore. This is now something completely different.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my biggest problem with a lot of this stuff.
Cordero, it sounds like you're trying to say something.
No.
Cruiser, I have a question for you.
Which one's talking to me?
This is Pony Cordero.
Okay.
What happened to Sombra at the end of the Crystal Empire arc?
Oh yeah, that thing.
That did happen, but it didn't
Was
involve
he
anything
not
about
murdered?
It didn't involve any disembowelment. Again, my big thing was overt violence.
So violently being turned into a crystal is not losing your body. Okay, dude. Look,
Again,
man,
again, I don't understand why this is so hard to understand. I'm talking about things like what we saw in Smile HD, okay?
and I'm down with it. I think that people are allowed to experiment, and honestly, again, you have to remember that fanfic has become a place where some of the greatest new writers are coming from. This is their playground to test without having to put money on the line.
That's fine, but if you're talking about death like what they did with the Storm King, like that, I had no problem with. It was a very, we'll say, family okay way to do things. Or like what happened with King Somber when he apparently turned to some blinding light. Okay, I'm fine with that. But again, when we're talking about things like Smile HD or when you're overtly like ripping the guts out of characters, that's when I'm out.
Okay.
So as long as it's a villain murdered at the climax with a cartoony explosion, it's fine. But if it's graphic, that's when it becomes a problem.
It almost sounds to me like the inverse that America has a problem with. We glorify violence, but the moment there's a nipple slip, we're on Def Con Jam.
We didn't even bring up sexual stuff yet.
Yeah, I mean, all violence, sex, sadness, hate, love, these are all things you're going to see in the extreme.
Well, I did some recording today. And one of my lines was why are we so bad at tackling the circle of life? So the creation of life, birth, sickness, injury, violence, death, things like that, which Cruizer did say earlier. There is some of that because we got Flurry Heart and we got the Cake Twins, but we never talked about what happened to Applejack's parents. We just know that they're gone, and we talk about them in the past tense, right? So we get things like that going on. So Cruizer, tell me this then, because we're not looking for something necessarily subjective here, but what's the line where's the line where we start touching on themes or tones where in your eyes it's no longer appropriate to call this piece of artwork Brony because of what it's trying to portray?
Well, which topic are you talking about? Are we talking again horror? Are we talking about sex?
Let's talk about horror because that's
okay. My thing is that I just cannot picture any of these characters doing this at all. Yeah, and like I said, like I'm fine with them putting death in MLP. Like what they did with the Storm King. I still stand by that. The fact that, you didn't see like his entrails spilling out all over the floor. Like I don't think belongs in MLP. But if you want to turn him into a statue and not chuck him off a cliff, be my guest. If you want to have King Sombra just turn to a blinding light, fine. But when I see decapitation, like, no, I cannot picture that in MLP.
I think that definition is too narrow, though. I don't think the content matters that much as far as determining whether it worked or not. Because I can't picture Rainbow Dash being somebody's kawaii little pet in the human world either.
Who's talking right now?
Yeah, where's that?
That was Trent's background.
Okay, I can't hear a thing when there's other background.
Yeah. Anyway,
can we get that
Trent?
Or something?
Yeah, Trent. Can you move to a quiet location, please? All right. So what were you saying, Cruizer? I'll give Trent a minute.
My thing is that I'm trying to think within the scope of the show. Like, what can I actually picture happening on television, or even quite possibly what I think is at least appropriate enough. Again,
that's way too narrow for me.
For you, that's fine, but I just cannot picture something like Pinkie Pie disemboweling Rainbow Dash. Sorry, like that, I cannot see that happening. If you want to do it, go for it. I'm not going to stop you.
So let me ask.
If you're going to try to tell, go ahead.
Right. So I'm sorry to cut you off, Cruizer, but you're starting to repeat yourself, frankly. Now then, let me ask the group this then, because I see it in the chat here as well. Where does Fallout Equestria fall on this?
I've never seen nor read it, so I can't say.
Okay, so do you know anything about the Fallout games?
It's definitely outside of Cruizer's definition of what we qualify. It's definitely outside. It's way too dark.
Okay, so Fallout is usually by the name of the series
Mhm.
about survival of the human race post nuclear fallout. Literally, you're
Mhm.
dealing with mutations, you're dealing with creatures that should never exist on any god green planet, and they do in this world, and the consequences of living in a world that's all about survival.
It's
And Fallout
also
is
it's
probably
also one of the. Oh, sorry, my bad.
it's one of the darkest, most depressing, most humbling books that you could probably read. Yeah, they made it into an actual book. Uh,
Mhm.
and honestly,
Mhm.
that's what changed me when I read that. Because at one point, I thought that, well, there has to be a limit of what you can write. But after reading Fallout Equestria, I realized that several things here. One, these people should probably be the ones writing the Fallout games. They know what the heck they're doing. Two, you can do whatever you want with ponies so long as you're actually committed to following through and you write something that's genuinely good. I personally don't care how violent or sexual, whatever they make a story, so long as it's actually well written and not just all about its content ID tag.
Okay, so that brings me to another question I wanted to ask the group tonight. So Sasha, let's say I'm writing a story,
Okay.
and it's supposed to be a Brony fan fiction, or it's supposed to take place in it's supposed to be about My Little Pony. Um, Half of my characters are original. The other half are odd mix between out of character, background characters, and main six. So Applejack is just a lying two-faced deceiver, sort of thing, and Lyra and Bonbon are straight. So so there's that. Now instead of ponies, they are anthro horses, and instead of equestria, it's something completely unrelated. We don't have
New York
magic anymore.
apartment.
Yeah, we don't have magic anymore. Basically, I've transformed the thing.
Into friends.
Yeah, I've any of the themes, I've taken all of the themes out, and all of the aesthetic out, and I have replaced it with my own. Is this still Brony?
You
Yeah.
babbled on for a bit too much. You lost me.
Okay, so I'll summarize it again. I write this story, but I take out all of the aesthetic and the themes, and what's left are a few out of character characters. For the most part, original characters. But I'm still putting it up on Film Fiction like it's a My Little Pony story. Is it still a My Little Pony story? Sasha, what do you think about that?
I'd say yeah.
Okay.
Again, like as long as you still are considering, the balance of writing a good story and also trying to use elements of the original source material, the spirit of it, you can change almost everything and
So
still tell a story that feels familiar.
So by your definition, as long as I've got an unguligrade anthro, it's still My Little Pony. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, I mean, are we really even the people to get to define what is the limit? Because if people will read it and people will favorite and comment it and give it viewership, I mean, what do you do then? Because to me, at one point, it's going to end up becoming, if nobody cares to look at your content, either it's A, not very good, or B, you just went too far. And you wrote something that is unrelatable to people and unrelatable to the fandom.
Right, and I would certainly qualify it as unrelatable to the fandom. Now, before I go on a rant, does anybody else have anything they want to add or take away from what Sasha just said?
Yes, this goes to what I was saying about talent, about how that makes a big deal. Because in your example, you said that Lyra and Bonbon were still there in name, right? Like living in a, we'll say, New York City apartment or whatever.
Yes.
But they're like anthro or something. if something about this story, and they're still there in nomenclature, like reminds you of Lyra and Bonbon, it reminds you of My Little Pony, to the point where, as Trent said, that was Trent, right? Where the pony family, or the pony fandom recognizes Lyra and Bonbon and recognizes these characters, and they can still relate to it. Obviously, that person was talented enough to bring enough of My Little Pony into this that it's still got the fans to like it. So yeah, how much the fans like something and the talent of the author actually has a great deal to do with is it Brony or not, because ultimately it's not defined by a panel of elitists like us, like deciding if it should be Brony or not. It's really defined by, did it connect with the fans, and was it still recognizable by enough people as My Little Pony? And if in your example a bunch of people like Lyra and Bonbon do Friends / How I Met Your Mother, then yeah, it qualifies because it made that connection.
So if we were to take, now here's what I'm getting at here. If we take that to what I would believe is a logical conclusion, then 50 Shades of Grey is in fact within the Twilight fandom.
Yes.
I mean, it was literally a smut piece written for the fandom, so to me, it'll never be an original.
Yeah, and then Stephanie Meyer, I believe, changed the names of the characters, right? Something like that.
Was smart.
All she literally did was just change the name of the characters.
Okay.
And ignore Sodden. And suddenly 50 Shades of Grey.
As much as I hate both of those things, I cannot equate them. They are too divorced from each other for them to be the same thing. Now, I do believe in the concept of inspiration, obviously, because I think at some point in time, Star Wars, for example, pulled from a lot of
Take a Shot. Star Wars was brought up.
Yeah, brought up a lot of tropes when it was originally aired in the 1970s, but it just had a space opera theme to it. But that doesn't mean it's not its own thing. So I might write this story that has nothing to do with My Little Pony and put it up on FimFiction, but I think it's so far gone from what it's meant to be that it's now its own thing. So that's the line that I would put on it, is not just when you take away the tone, but when you take away the characters and the theme, then what's left? Why did you even bother writing something for a fandom instead of just making your own thing?
So basically, because Star Wars is not part of the Flash Gordon fandom universe, like that seems to be where you're going with that. But here's what I would say. If Star Wars was called Flash Gordon by George Lucas, and all of the characters were from Flash Gordon, and people who liked Flash Gordon also like Star Wars, that's the line for me. Then I would say, yeah, that's Flash Gordon fandom right there. The fact that George Lucas didn't write a Flash Gordon fanfic and instead wrote Star Wars with new characters and names, literally the fact that he changed the names is enough to make the separation.
But now,
like I said, if you're talented and you get the fandom connection and you get the popularity, that's literally all it takes.
So but that would just mean that the audience is fans of a genre rather than fans of a specific IP.
No, because they're tying that work back to that specific IP. Because he changed the names and called it Star Wars, it's now not Flash Gordon at all. It's Star Wars. I've actually brought this up in fan fiction and writing panels at conventions. I've gone to those both as a member and as a host of writing panels, where I've told people that, hey, if your work is removed enough from the original work that you can just change the names and it's your own story, you should go ahead and do that. Go ahead and dip your toe into an original work. But if you keep it part of what you were inspired by, and enough people also get the same connection, like, yeah, I agree, you are writing what I also know, then it's part of that fandom. That's how you draw the line, is do you keep the names and do other people agree? It's that simple.
Interesting. What do you guys think about that?
Well, someone here actually brought something, a good point up. He said, but those are simply call-outs to the show, not a full crossover.
Mm-hmm. So what exactly are you referring to?
Well, I'm not quite sure what this person, was giving that an answer to.
Like they're just referencing the old work and the new work. They're not presenting the new work as part of the old work.
Oh wait, here he goes. Thanks, Pika Damos. Sorry if I butchered your name. I said sorry. I mean, the level of requirement in which it needs to be in order to become Brony.
And
Okay. How much do you need to associate it as the author?
Yeah, and that's a lot of another topic that I wanted to talk about tonight is how is there a line and where is it? How much of so that's what I was getting at is I think if you take away everything, it's now its own thing, whether you really want it to be or not. It's more or less just inspired by the source material. But is there a line of exactly how much percentage you need to take away before it's completely unrelated?
No.
No line? Why do you say that?
It's a spectrum. That's an overused term. It's blurred. It's basically if enough people say, yeah, that's that thing, that's Star Wars, that's Pony, then you're there. If enough people are like, no, this is something else, then you're not there. It's like the Congress definition of porn. I know it when I see it. It really falls into that. If enough people connect with it, it works. If nobody connects with it, like, dude, you just wrote a murder mystery and called the main character Pinkie Pie. Like that's not, this isn't My Little Pony at all. Then you failed. It's not part of the fandom.
What do we think about that?
I just think it's basically just like you said. It's a basic litmus test. If people start reading and follow and like it, and never say anything about how all you did was literally write a thriller with Pinkie Pie as the main character in name only, then you've done your job. But as soon as you start getting those floods of comments saying, yo, why'd you even write this? Like, not that it's bad, but there's nothing charming about it. There's nothing relatable to the fandom, and in turn, relatable to me as a reader on a fanfic platform. This could have been published anywhere else.
Alrighty then. So, what if we shifted the lens a little bit and took the literature side out of it and replaced it with another artistic medium? So, what if I just drew a picture of an anthro horse and it was a completely original character? Is that Brony?
No.
I mean, it depends. Are you going to...
Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead, Sasha.
It just depends on how much of the charm and spirit you're going to integrate into the piece. So again, like, you can draw an anthropomorphic horse and have realistic proportions and it not be related, but you can't do that and have it be relatable if you follow the guidelines of how they normally detail and color characters.
Now that we can take that to the next logical step then and and shift the lens again to something like music, which was actually a mild controversy in the fandom a few years ago when conventions started bringing on non-Brony musicians. Like, we started asking the question of does the music need to have a voice clip from the show or mention a character by name in order to be a Brony song, or is it just what was called Pony in name only, which some people would accuse the musicians of just trying to rope in the Brony crowd for extra clicks.
You mean like the Two Snacks impersonator?
No, not like that's a completely separate issue. I'm talking about so let's say you wrote a song and it's you composed a completely instrumental orchestral piece and then put some nice art of Rainbow Dash on the cover and said it was a Rainbow Dash song. Did you really make a Brony song, or is it just Pony in name only, or are you looking for the extra clips? And that was a debate that the fandom was having, I think, back in like 2014 to 2016. It was kind of on and off. What do you guys think about that?
It doesn't. If that's the case, if that's what you're talking about, then I would say no. It just sounds like lip service.
Well, as a musician myself, I mean, that line becomes a lot finer and way more defined than everything else we've talked about because of legalities. If you follow what I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like you can't legally make a song and make any money on it then at all, or feature it in any sort of way where there's payment. If you say use the progressions that are used in the show, those aren't really yours. Those are Daniel Ingram. So that's where you kind of start threading. But you can write an original score, and personally, I feel like when it comes to the music side, if it's just an instrumental, it really needs to embody the character, or I'm not going to believe you on that note of, oh, well, this is a Rainbow Dash song. Really? Just a really smooth and slow moving orchestral piece. You're going to make me believe that that is related versus straight up, had you written like a rock focused instrumental, which would have been an easy sell right there. It sounds like you wrote a random piece and just decided to put a name on it and just in name only.
And two examples I can bring up of that would be, I'll use my two favorite songs in the fandom actually. Phileo made a song a long time ago, I think in 2013, called "I Love the Way She Flies." It was the only song he made. And that is most certainly a Rainbow Dash song. It's definitely got her attitude, the rock and roll aesthetic. It's got voice clips from Rainbow Dash in the song, and it's an amazing song. Then there's In Season by Woody Moto, another old song, purely a piano piece with just a picture of Roseluck slapped over it. Would definitely qualify as the pony in name only sort of thing. So that's the examples I can pull of that. Now Cordero, you've got a little bit of music experience yourself, as well as you've been a longtime fan of Brony music. What do you think of all this?
Well, I see two perspectives here because we talked about from the convention perspective at the very beginning.
Yeah.
And then there's also the individual content creator perspective. From the convention perspective, if you can get Billie Eilish to show up to your Brony convention and perform, screw it, book her. Like that's amazing. Let her do her regular non-pony set. You know, if it gets people there and it gets hype, and then maybe she'll sing Smile Song or something and throw a bone and say, "Oh, Bronies are so fun." Great, do it. Like from a live performance or like a convention thing, yeah. Who cares if you can get a big name draw? Frickin' do it. That's my opinion of that. But
Absolutely.
if you're like an individual creator, like you're a YouTube musician, and you're like, oh, I want to get in on this Brony thing because it's 2014 and that's the biggest thing on YouTube, and you just make a song that's Brony and name only, yeah, that's a bit disingenuous. As far as your specific example of the Roseluck guy, that's a little more muddy to me because a fully instrumental song like just a piano piece, like how do you say that that's not 100% inspired by Roseluck? You know what I'm saying? Like you throw Roseluck on there, that's a little more gray. Like you can hide in that a little bit. But if it's a fully instrumental piece, it's hard to say you are not genuinely basing this on Brony stuff. It's like, well, just because I never said, you know, gotta go fast. That's Sonic. Not just because I said I'm Rainbow Dash in the song. It's the same character. Let's be honest. If I didn't have words that said pony, pony, pony swag in them, doesn't mean it's not a Brony song. Like the instrumental, I give more leeway to. Let me put it that way. Mm-hmm. I'll give more leeway to fully instrumental works and say, yeah, I wrote this instrumental piece because it reminded me of Roseluck. Sure, I'll give you that. But if you're just like, hey, listen to my rap single, it's totally inspired by Rainbow Dash. It's like, dude, you talked about drugs and money in the whole song and never brought up ponies. Yeah, that's
calm down there, Whoop Master.
Whoop Master. Whoop whoop.
I love Woot Master.
Yeah.
Hoot Master.
He's definitely the most talented rapper the fandom has, but from what you just described, he's got a few songs like that too.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, it's once for Applejack actually. I think it's called Hey Applejack, and it's like, are you even talking about Applejack?
I think he paid his dues. Woot Master specifically, I think he paid his dues. He made enough pony content that he can call himself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so that was all I had in my head in terms of questions to ask. Does anybody have any other points that they want to bring up before we move on to the audience interaction?
Not really. Like, I know you guys have all had criticisms about my thing. It's just, I just can't picture someone like Pinkie Pie doing that to Rainbow Dash. That's my big thing.
Right, but that's
yeah.
what we're saying is that's a very subjective standpoint to take, which I knew this was going to be a sort of subjective topic, but that's like to the point where it's like, okay, that alienates a whole genre, which can very easily. I mean, I agree with you. I don't think it. You know, I don't like gory fan fictions, right? If the reason I'm reading a fan fiction is because I want more pony in my life, and if it doesn't feel like pony, if the characters are screwed up, if the situations are not what I might see in the show, it's not going to interest me as much on a subjective level. But I'm not going to say this isn't a Brony story, and that's why I disagree with you, Cruizer.
As long as she reminds me of Pinkie Pie while she's stabbing Rainbow Dash and turning her into a quilt, I'll call it Brony content. Because, like, yeah, that reminds me of the show. That reminds me of that character, you know, and it looks like it. So that's good enough for me. However, that doesn't mean I like it. Cupcake is trash. My Little Dashie is trash. A lot of stuff is trash, but I definitely call it Brony because it reminds me of the show enough.
Trent, it sounded like you were about to say something.
I was just going to say I agree with Cruizer. Sorry.
Cool.
Well, what I was trying to get out was, let's just say hypothetically we change out Pinkie Pie and Rainbow Dash and put two different other ponies in there. I mean, not even ponies, but people all together. Would it still make you think of it?
Yeah.
If she acted enough like Pinkie Pie, I'd be like, hey, this murderer kind of reminds me of Pinkie Pie from My Little Pony. Like, if the connection can be drawn.
That's a big stretch, in my opinion, at least.
If you nail the personality quirks and the speaking cadence.
So here's a quick question we can answer and give our 2 cents on before we move on to audience participation. If it's made by somebody who's not a Brony, but given the My Little Pony skin, is it Brony?
One more time.
So it's made by someone who's not a Brony, but given the My Little Pony skin. So the HD series, the .mov series, Cupcakes, things like that.
I think the Cupcakes writer was a Brony. .mov, probably not the.
He was not. He is just someone who only likes to make art when there's money on the table.
As long as they meet the requirements that I already said, that it reminds you of it, it reminds enough people of it, because .mov definitely did. Like I don't think there's a single Brony, except maybe Cruizer, that would say that .mov is not Brony content.
I actually never seen that.
Wow.
There's a lot of murder in that, but I mean, they're parody caricatures of the characters, and they're also like jerks and murderers and stuff like that in it. And Rarity is literally a slave owner. But it reminds me of the characters, and also it helps that they fully animated the whole thing, and they have animated ponies on the thing itself, and voice actors that sound similar. Freaking Ego Raptor is on that. He plays Rarity, I think.
Yes.
Remember your Cruiser. Remember the line, "Forget you, I can eat all these apples." That came from MOV.
Okay.
Yep, that's
You, I can eat all these apples.
Hi, Evan. So yeah, that was the question there. Trent, what do you think? Is if it's made by someone who's not a Brony, is it Brony content?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that it seems more like parody to me.
Okay.
Like the Pretty Pegasus from Teen Titans Go. Hey, I like that show, so.
Yeah.
Alrighty then. Yeah, so that was everything I wanted to touch on. So let's move on to the audience participation. So I managed to get a couple of questions and comments here, and I'll read them off. I hope you guys bookmark some stuff as well. So towards the beginning of the
I did.
Yep, towards the beginning of the stream, Malcontent says, "That's remarkable That's a remarkably elitist view. As long as you don't suck, you can be a part of our fandom." I feel like Cordero, he took you a little out of context there. Would you mind?
I like it.
Yeah.
Cordero out of context. It sounds like a good show right there.
I've actually, you know what's funny is that comment actually got to me because I feel like I've been spending the whole stream fighting against that comment, like defending, people making Brony comment because that comment is absolutely right. Like our panel here is not qualified, nor is any panel qualified to determine what is Brony content because that would be very elitist. So I've been trying to make the point since that comment, to get out from under it, I guess, that it really is about did it connect with people or not. That's more important than did it connect with the five of us. Did it connect with enough people across the Brony fandom? And that's why I kind of tailored my definition to that.
All right, and is that what you intended from the beginning, or did you sort of change your mind when you heard it parroted back to you?
I think I intended that from the beginning. That comment just made me realize I needed to clarify that we are not the Council of Brony who determines what is and is not Brony. That is not what we are.
Maybe you're not. I am.
It's a different story if you just take control, like we and like Brony and I did. We just became the president-elects.
Okay.
Or dictator-elects. You know how it is.
All in favor of national shutdown?
No.
Yay!
Okay, I actually just looked up a few clips here from .mov. At least I hope I saw the right thing here. Was it done by Max G?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
this I see it as complete parody. Something like this, I'm fine with it. But when at least when I was looking into Cupcakes, it just seemed like it had this very dark and serious tone to it that just felt out of place for me.
Now, I'll give you this because you said it at the very beginning of the stream, and I never quite got back to it. You worry about the mental state of people who write gore so explicitly and just gratuitously. I do as well, and I'm sure there's examples of people out there that have an actual problem and they vent it through their things. I mean, shoot, we've actually had a couple of them in the Central Florida Bronies that were like that. But I also think that there's a good number of people, probably even the majority, that have a genuine question that they want to explore themselves through their artistic medium. That breaks the themes of the show as it is. So that's my 2 cents on that. The next one is Paladin Pony.
I can really quick. I can respond to that as someone who has written My Little Pony gore before.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
I wrote a story called The Manhattan Strangler, where I based him on the Boston Strangler, and like other murderers, and I wrote a main character who was a secret murderer who killed prostitutes because he thought that they were uncouth, and his mother was a prostitute. But he's actually disguised as the main character the entire time. But I made them seem like two different characters throughout the whole thing. And then the twist at the end is that the main character, who's a young detective trying to find this guy, actually is the Manhattan Strangler. He's the same guy.
Oh, geez.
I never finished that, but that was the story I was writing, and I wrote it because it was fun.
Now here's how you make that story into a Brony story according to Cruizer's definition. So the Manhattan Strangler is just a dude
sick on cupcakes.
Is just a dude who really wants everybody to be properly dressed in a necktie, and he goes around trying to put neckties on everyone who's not wearing one, but he keeps screwing it up and it's just always an accident.
Well, we can get My Little Ties in here and ask him about it.
I mean, shoot, I look really good in a tie, but I do not like wearing them. Holy frick. Anyway, we got to move on here. Paladin Pony T says, if I could say this, people love different genres for movies and books, and many fans write what they love, so it isn't bad to say. So aren't you saying that they are not a fan if they break that? his grammar's a little weird, so I'm trying to interpret what he said here.
I don't think the point was ever is the material, relatable enough.
Okay.
That's kind of what the whole discussion I really felt hinged on. I don't think we were really measuring anyone's worthiness as a enjoyer of a fandom.
Okay.
That's a really good question. That's where my definition actually kind of breaks down a little bit, because if you got a guy or woman or whatever that was trying their damnedest to make a My Little Pony story, like write their own little thing or whatever, and it was so far removed, nobody connected with it, it doesn't even feel like ponies at all in name only, but man, it came from their heart and they were trying, it's really hard for me to point at that person and say, what you did is not even Brony, because it was intended to be, and it came from a place where it was meant to be. So that's where it gets really hard, is like, how do you determine who is being authentic or not, even if they suck at it? And that's why my definition is like, well, talent and results matter, because talent and results kind of define it as Brony. But if somebody in their heart was trying to make something Brony and just nobody connected with it, or they were just really bad, it kind of hurts to point to that guy and say, hey, that's not even Brony fandom. And that's where this debate kind of sucks. You know what I mean?
It sounds like it sounds like Sasha was trying to give a counterpoint there. What were you trying to say, Sasha?
My counterpoint wasn't so much of a counter, so much as a build off. I mean, I agree. Just don't be the one to say that. There's no need to say it. The low turnout should be kind of the major hint that it's not relatable. I just think it's kind of sucky when people, and I saw this firsthand in fanfiction.net, where people would literally just spam every single chapter how your story is not relatable. And it took a while for the staff to start going, okay, guys, we're just going to start taking away your ability to review for extended periods of time if you can't be nice. You don't have to like something and stop reading it. And I feel like that still applies very much in this fandom as well. If somebody writes a story that is just genuinely bad, do you really need to go in there and be like, LOL, this is so badly written, my dead grandmother, who, by the way, has been dead for 20 years, could literally write better than this, and she doesn't even speak English. It's like, we get it. You don't like the story. I don't care that you're so edgy, you think you're funny. You're actually a bigger idiot than the bad writer at hand. You are genuinely the idiot. This is a moment where you would be like, are you okay, stupid? They always call you stupid, but they never ask if you're okay.
So
yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. There's no reason to. The results should speak for themselves. There's no reason to step on somebody when they're down if their work didn't connect with anyone.
And we have one comment here. I think we pissed off Malcontent. It says, all right, this is hardly a discussion about Brony on an objective term. It's about personal ideas which you can't allow one or two people to define what right and appropriate is. I'm leaving. Enjoy the show.
Well, that's it.
You messed up.
There was a little bit of that towards the beginning, and then we sort of got closer to what he wanted towards the end.
Yeah, I wish he stuck around.
Yeah, that's on him for not having the patience. At least that's what I think.
It'd be like that.
Yep, but hey, that's an aspect of the conversation. Any of these topics have multiple faces, and it's important that we leave no stone unturned if we can avoid it.
Yeah, this question gets right to people's core as a fan. It can affect people emotionally.
You're right. I feel like this is one of those topics that is unintentionally very charged, and people take it very personnel.
Well, they shouldn't though, and that's part of the reason why we do these debates.
That's totally. Well, that's not even the point. The point is, I don't understand why take it so personnel. I'm saying it wrong intentionally because it's you're so ridiculous. You're like that guy that tries to be an edgelord and go, nothing personnel, kid. It's yeah, but you're the one getting tilted as soon as somebody says you're wrong.
And and along that same vein there, Sasha, I need you to go down to the store and get me some tortillas so I could make some fajitas.
Okay, Peter.
Okay, Gringo.
Credit to Jonah Tex Hex. Mayhaps it's the writer's artist intention of the materials presented, which is basically what we just went over. So I guess to finalize my definition, the talent and the success of connecting with people matters, but the intention also matters. However, the intention is impossible to determine. There we go. There's my full answer. My full final answer.
Nice. So that was all I had, except I had one. Drana said something along the lines of, if it's not brony, it means it is still a brony, but it's not necessarily meant for My Little Pony, but it falls under a different umbrella, which I thought was interesting. Did anybody else see any comments or questions in this stream that I missed that they want to address?
Yeah, you missed Pony Cordero. He asked a question in the chat.
Well, he's in the freaking call, so he can speak up.
Oh shit, that's me. Pony Cordero asked, "What is love? Baby, don't hurt me."
You're hurting me right
Don't
now.
hurt me no more.
No more.
But I will say though, Bryan, I am glad you brought up what I've said about the tone and how overtly violence. I appreciate that because that was really kind of the crux of it. I think we kind of, or even even I did kind of lose sight of that throughout this.
Yeah, and it's like and I'm in a weird position because I agree with you, but I don't believe myself in a position to say this is inappropriate, that people shouldn't write that, because now we're playing a gatekeeping game and a censorship game, and I don't like those games. And I don't
like
want
I said, I would never stop anybody from writing it. It's
like the Soviet-Russian Empire. That's all I have to say.
Mm-hmm. And we're all, but when we start getting into the gatekeeping and the no true Scotsman type of thing, that's when that's kind of we don't play that game here. We're an inclusive fandom.
We are not 1984. We are 2020. Let's behave like it.
For better for worse.
Listen, unless it's barreled in Scotland and meets a certain grain mash requirement, it can't be called Scotch. Wait, is that what we're talking about?
It also has to be made by a Scotsman, but like there's no true Scotsman because the people from the Highlands aren't true Scotsmen, and the people from the Lowlands.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Then that means there's no true Scotch. Scotch isn't real.
And if your name is McDuff and not McGuffey, then you're totally screwed.
Oh god.
Yeah.
And if you're related to Scrooge McDuck,
it's all Irish whiskey. That's the truth.
It's not true brony content because you were never a staff show writer and your script was never made into an episode. Like we can get pretty
let me see those credentials, buddy.
And those episodes
will never be as good as Meriwether Williams. Just face it.
And those scripts, the ones that were made into episodes, aren't real brony content because
they were edited by someone who's not a brony.
Yeah.
but then the show isn't really brony because it itself doesn't adhere to the rules.
Here's the definition: if M.A. Larson didn't write it, it's not brony. That's it.
That's very true. I think Larson is the only one that would outright call him only one on the show staff that would outright call himself a brony.
He's the only true brony writer. The only one.
By the original founder of the show, Lauren Faust, then it's not a canon. It's just an opinion piece.
Anything.
Jamie Larson was knighted by Faust in the beginning, and his work was sanctified at the Council of Nicaea, and that's what's in the canon Brony Bible.
With Bonnie Zacharel as a witness, but even then, Bonnie Zacharel's just sitting there like, "Yo, I just wanted some money.
Give me those toy sales, man."
Well, you're forgetting in the New Testament, right? In the corporate, they got rid of Lauren Faust's, knightlyhood. So he went from being knighted to just being another Joe Schmo.
Okay, someone just said, what about Prego art? Is that brony?
Prego,
Or actually
what
said
is
Borny.
I don't even know what that is. Is that a meme I don't know?
Pregnant Oh my!
Or-
Prego.
No, it's
No.
he said Preg-Row, and I don't know if it's a typo.
Pre-grow. You have to pre-grow your bronies in a lab. It's like vegan plant bronies.
I
Am I-
think he meant to say Prego. I really do think he meant that.
Am I Gregnant?
Preg or not.
Pregante.
Cadence was pregnant. Bronies can get pregnant, so yes.
See, that's an awkward question. Did we ever see Cadence pregnant?
No, we didn't. She just
No, but we were told.
Nope.
yeah.
And we saw the results.
You're told us already.
And the results were
That's enough.
freaking horrifying.
One female was brought to this world.
Listen,
One-
Flurry Heart is the most unbrony thing about the show. Can we agree on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the punishment?
I'm pretty sure the next Brony debates topic is going to be Alicorn OCs, and I am going to just
Oh,
I am going to go so hard on Flurry Heart. It's not even going to be funny.
All right.
Please invite Blissey to your chat then.
That's the
Nice.
plan.
Can I come on that show and argue that Equestria Girls is a better series than My Little Pony?
Actually, can we make that instead of the overall debate? Which
You know
one's
what?
better?
You know what, Cordero? We can do that topic when we can get Scan on, because Scan, the black griffin with the purple head that I have on, he is like diametrically opposed to you.
Oh my god, that would be amazing. That's free.
Please, I will
You
bring
need to like sell
this.
tickets to that, like hype that up, because I am so far.
Dude.
After Rainbow Rocks, I basically decided I'm no longer a brony. I'm an Equestria girl. Like that's the actual fandom. I'm not even kidding.
All right, so
It's
I'm going
actually
to.
the better show. I am down. Let's go. I'm ready for war.
All right,
I will
so
research
I
this
would like
and
to.
get
I
ready.
would like to say I think we should promote this like a UFC fight promo.
Yes.
All right. So
We
before
gotta
we
get some action.
Before we do any of that, let's address the last two bits of chat here. Paladin Pony T says, "Can we all agree that everyone can choose whether we're or okay, Paladin Pony T, I'm gonna need you to work on your grammar just a little bit. Does anybody know what he's saying? Like, I feel like a real jerk right now for not knowing what he's saying.
We all
We all agree that everyone can choose
whether or not
something is brony. Yeah, see, we both nailed it in unison. There you go.
All right. What are our opinions on HIE? I'm assuming human in Equestria.
I think we just covered it by bringing up Equestria Girls.
As long as it's good.
0 out of 10, all garbage.
Well, no,
There's no such thing as a good one.
Equestria Girls isn't human in Equestria until the
It's Pony
fourth or
and Human World, totally different.
That's Ponyfall.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's the Ponyfall genre.
Reversal.
Yeah, which Sasha has written a Ponyfall story. So
Damn, thanks for bringing attention to that.
you're welcome. I hope everybody goes and finds it.
Equestria Girls has proven that the only way to write a human in Equestria story is you have to write an entirely fun and compelling story of ponies in the human world in order to justify them going to the pony world. You have to do that first, or else 0 out of 10 garbage, not brony fandom.
Well, technically they did do
Yes.
a human in Equestria story.
Don't bring
Yeah,
up
that's what I'm saying. But it was after a compelling pony in Equestria story. It was afterwards.
It was Spring Breakdown.
Wait,
Yeah.
what was that? Was this show proper we're talking about?
Yeah, the
Talking about-
Equestria Girls Spring Breakdown.
It actually
Well, yeah,
had,
but-
it had a couple of human characters go to Equestria.
That was
Yeah, I know.
that was when
But that's
the
what I'm
yacht
saying.
crashed.
But that's after the ponies got there first. You had to establish an entirely fun universe of ponies in the human world first.
Okay,
before
I
you
didn't
do
hear
that.
that part. Okay.
That's
Yeah,
the
that's what I'm
biggest part. You just are explaining. Which, you know what? The entire premise of Ponyfall is what you really do need to do. HIE. Like if you do human and Equestria without doing the Ponyfall part first,
Right, I threw up.
you're basically writing a really, really cringy self-insert.
And I've
Agreed.
I've written the one film fiction that I wrote was a human in Equestria as well, so I can't frickin' talk.
Oh, I know. I
yeah.
knew that.
So-
Here's the way around it. To make it not self-insert, Brony, we have to write each other's fics. I have to write about you being an Equestria, and you have to write about me being an Equestria, and then it can't be a self-insert.
the only real difference between you and I as characters, though, is that you're a lot more blunt than I am.
It still counts.
I
I'm more
suppose.
blunt than you? Wow.
On some days, you certainly are.
It's true.
I mean, like the beginning.
Like it's not status quo, but you have your moments, man.
I do.
It is status quo. What do you mean?
How many times have we been out to eat and I've been like, Anthony, you need to tone it down?
I'll say anything if it's funny.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so last one here, Paladin Pony T. So is it okay for horror is not about the main six like with the Lost Narrator? So the Lost Narrator does dramatic readings of horror stories and is a comic dub voice actress in general. So now we're getting into degrees of separation here.
So like they do live readings of pony stories?
Yeah, and I think he's addressing Cruizer's definition of like if it's too graphic, then if it's too graphically horror, then it's not Brony. Well, what about people who read so maybe not according to Cruizer's definition, but I don't think anybody here really agrees with Cruizer's definition.
Yeah, because if the story itself is not Brony because it's too horror, then by definition that reading of it would not be Brony.
Just because you put a random voice in there doesn't mean it's suddenly pony, right? Like.
Yep.
See, this is why no one is qualified. This is why I have a results-based opinion, because no one is qualified. So the only thing you can base it on is results, and results is other fans' reaction. I win.
May vary.
I will take my trophy. I clearly won the debate tonight.
So, hold up. Pika almost brought up a point that I don't know. I kind of want to, I guess, see what everyone else feels about. I have seen many human and equestrians where the main character is literally just in the background while the main actual story of MLP is still progressing without any of their input.
If they're in the background, why are they there?
Because it's a cheap attempt to basically write a fluff piece that gets views.
See, that's cowardly. They're so afraid of being crapped on for having a human equestrian story that they make the human so background, like, no, see, I'm not doing all of that stupid stuff. See, they're in the background. Well, then you're just a coward. Just commit to it and write your HIE.
Don't worry, they can chill out back there with Applejack.
Oh.
So is Applejack in this character also like eating French baguettes because they're French?
Yes.
All right.
Come on, people.
Okay, I think that's a good spot to wrap it up, guys. Did you all have fun tonight on the stream?
Yeah,
I did.
One way or another.
Yeah. Now, here's the most important question. Did we learn anything?
Not a damn thing.
I didn't learn nothing at all. I was right all along.
All right, well, Trent's the exception here. Trent, what did you learn tonight?
I learned that, well, you know, everyone's got their own interpretations of what makes one cartoon or a piece of media a parody or an homage or whatever. Just, you know, doesn't matter. Pretty much, if it's 100% a parody, there's no real characters, it's all OC. And that's about it.
All right.
All jokes aside, I'll be serious here for a second here. That basically, even after having my own little thoughts come into question, it really is going to have to come down to subjectiveness, like what your personal thoughts are. There's really nothing to actually confirm whether or not something is Brony. It's really going to be your call.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think if something's going to be Brony, it's up to the author to, you know, call it Brony or not. But I think I'll side with Cordero here that you know, if you set out to write something and invoke a certain emotion and you fail to do so, then that's your fault as the author. Anything else we want to add?
Cordero wins.
Yep, I suppose he does.
Yeah, I did. I actually won. I learned that that one person downvoted the stream, which means we accomplished our goal, because if someone didn't leave a debate mad, you didn't have a debate.
That's one of two things. That's either Malcontent, who thinks we didn't do a good job at the beginning of the stream,
Watch the pod.
or it's that one guy that downloads everything, or that downvotes everything that I do because he thinks I'm transphobic.
Oh, could be.
Yeah.
Purple Tinker?
Purple Tinker doesn't know who I am, but no, funny story. I had a guy come up to me at a convention and say, "I'm the guy that downvotes all of your stuff because you're transphobic," and I'm like, "Cool."
Honestly, you should have hit him with the, "Okay, boomer, let me sign your autograph."
I suppose I should have, but like I just wanted to be done with the interaction. And like the dude knows nothing about me and is so far off base of what I actually think that he's just, I don't know. It's not worth it.
You should have clutched your like bag of stuff and went, "No, my bathrooms," and then ran away.
Yeah, no, you see, that's what I'm talking about. That's something you would do.
It is something I would do.
Well, if you guys had fun listening in on the stream tonight, all those who are out there, I would love to have you on the stream. We just need to get you on the Patreon for as little as $1 a month. I'm extremely grateful to all of my Patreon supporters, especially those on the $10 and up tier. This big long list here of Princess Heather Blossom, Shady Oak Ministry, Sid McConroy, Autoknight, Emerald Spencer, Sodden, Girder, Senko, Jennan, Kellogg, Cal Christensen, DJ Skywalker, Stephen A. Wilson, Rein-Kun, Princess Sunshine, Sparkle, Bootleg Bard, the suggester of tonight's topic, the Equestrian City Heroverse series, or Malcontent more specifically, as well as Trent's background noise. So, yep, I had fun tonight. Thanks a ton for, Cruizer, Trent, Sasha Lace, and Pony Cordero for coming on so last minute. Pony Cordero, congratulations on winning your first debate on your debut.
The first winner on the show.
Yeah.
All I want to say is, can you answer some questions, President-elect Cordero?
Yes. I'm shutting down the whole country.
Tears of your enemies.
Do I what?
Do you drink the tears of your enemies?
Only on Saturdays, and it goes well with my scotch. Great chaser.
Alrighty then. You have a great night, everybody. Have a wonderful weekend. God bless, and stay safe out there. Say goodnight, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, people.